Hi and welcome back to Chord Piano. My name is Mark Deeks and this is the level 1 chord sequence lesson. Extending what I've previously shown you in the beginner chord sequence lesson, if you haven't seen that, it might be a good idea to see that first before you attempt this one. There are some commonly occurring chord sequences, i.e. patterns of chords that follow one another very commonly in many songs throughout the years. Rather than just taking everything through in something that sounds more like an exercise, as we've looked at elsewhere, I'm going to introduce you to one or two commonly occurring sequences. As I've said to you, these involve usually referring to chords either by name or by number, and if you refer to them by number it's a little bit quicker and can be applicable to other musical keys. So we're going to play a 1-6-4-5. It's a very common basic chord sequence. 1-6-4-5 in the key of C. That will involve playing C major, A minor, F major, and G major. Again, a chord triad in the right hand, single notes in the left hand. Even though when we played the exercise before, when you played the full scale on the left hand, it involved bringing fingers over the top and this kind of thing, or perhaps a thumb underneath on the way back down. When you're starting to play sequences, that's not necessarily going to be an exact law or an exact science as to which finger is going to land on which note. When you start to play chord sequences, it starts to be much more to do with where things are in the sequence and what's coming next, i.e. what finger would be best for me to use now in order to get where I want to go. So in order to play a 1-6-4-5 in C, what I would probably suggest is you start with your little finger on the C, stretch up a little bit to your thumb on the A, second finger on the F, and then bring your thumb back down to the G. That's a fairly minimal movement to get through that sequence. So perhaps just practice that on the left hand. If you need to pause the video, that's fine. Get used to what that feels like. C, A, F, G in the left hand. And in the right hand, we're going to play the chords that go with it, which, as I've said to you in a previous lesson, you can also refer to by name. So that's C major, A minor, F major, and G major. Remember, when you're practicing these sequences, speed isn't important, but what is really important, and gets used to what it's going to feel like playing with perhaps other musicians, as you can do elsewhere on the Chord site, where you can play along to backing tracks with the songs. But also if you're playing with other musicians in your life as well, you can get used to what it feels like to playing with a pulse, which basically means assigning a number of beats to each chord. So that's commonly 2 or 4, perhaps 4 when you first start, and then you can get reaction times down to 2 later on. So for example, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. And with all the sequences, I would always advise that you play it round at least twice, if not more, because that's commonly what chord sequences do in songs. And just 2 beats each would sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's a 1-6-4-5 in the key of C. If you need to, pause the video at that point and get used to what that feels like. But now I'm going to introduce you to another common occurring chord sequence. This one is a 6-4-5-1. Very similar to what went before, slightly reversed. 6-4-5-1. So that would be A minor, F major, G major, and C major. So again, get used to what that feels like, moving around the piano. Keep your fingers as close to the keys as you can, minimizing the movements as you move around. And again, 4 beats each per chord or 2 beats each per chord, whichever you feel most comfortable trying. So for example, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But remember, as I've said to you before, speed isn't important. Take your time, enjoy the journey, and you may well find that these start to remind you of songs that you're familiar with. The techniques that I'm showing you here are techniques that you will find useful when you look at some of the songs that you can purchase elsewhere on the Chord Piano site. So it might be a good opportunity to have a look around and see if you can find some tunes that you'd like to have a go at. You might find that some of these chord shapes, for example, are useful for you if you were having a go at the level 1 acoustic rock track. But have fun, keep practicing, good luck, and we'll see you soon on Chord Piano.